Hi all. These are generally conversations between adults after the children have left the table. The language can be spicy and the subjects can get saucy. So if you're ready, this is the Southern Fork. Unscripted kitchen chats and also studio chats with some of the most interesting voices in the culinary South. I'm Stephanie Burt, a food and beverage writer based in Charleston, South Carolina, who travels with her fork to write for a variety of publications, from magazines you might have on your coffee table to the website you love to visit for your favorite recipes. And I'm inviting you to come behind the scenes with me to get to know the people who make this Southern culinary landscape so special. I'm always hungry for the next bite, thirsty for that next sip, and ready for the next conversation. Let's dig in. The Southern Fork is presented this year by Townsend Automotive in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. The Honda CR-V has been my favorite vehicle in Honda's lineup for years because it has great gas mileage and can haul a vintage furniture find with ease. In fact, it's so easy for getting out there in general, from the beach to the mountains to even the next photo shoot for a Southern travel article. Purchasing a CR-V from Townsend Honda means purchasing from a family-owned company built on service and connection with its customers, and they want to remind you of the joys of a jaunt down the road. Visit townsendhonda.com for current inventory, or if you're in West Alabama, stop in. Townsend Honda salutes local entrepreneurs, from restaurateurs to podcasters, and they welcome you to be part of a community that does the same. Beautiful Briny Sea is an artisan dry goods company based in Atlanta, Georgia. But that doesn't really explain the magic that happens behind its humble doors. It's like an alchemist cave full of spices, salt, and bright, shiny sugar sprinkles in all colors of the rainbow. At the center of it all is Suzi Sheffield, founder and CEO, former restaurateur turned salt storyteller. This company's salt blends are very balanced and often intricate with subtle layers of flavor in 16 varieties, from Magic Unicorn to Bird Bath Turkey Brine. Then there are sugarcane blends and sprinkles too, as well as a creative approach that is a perfect blend of sweet and salty, taking a company from too small for a farmer's market to partnerships with Jeni's ice creams, Williams-Sonoma, and more. Welcome to the Southern Fork, Suzi.
Thanks for having me.
Well, thanks for having me and your beautiful, what is this neighborhood called?
This is Grant Park.
Grant Park. I always love Grant Park, but I'm never quite sure exactly where Inman and Grant, and, I just came from Pond City Market. This is the most gorgeous block of like Victorian doll houses.
Yeah, it makes no sense when people ask where we are. I'm like, do you know where 6 Feet Under is? The larger build-outs on Memorial Drive. And then they're like, I'm like, okay, well, there's this random warehouse. You go charming Victorian, charming Victorian, charming Victorian, totally random 1960s warehouse, and then another charming Victorian. So that's an easy way that people are like, oh, yeah.
But I love that idea of something that is so colorful and bright and so, what you make is happy food. And I love that it's hiding in plain sight, kind of behind the store, and you open it up almost like that Wizard of Oz moment. So I think it fits. I think it's a perfect place to be. But I love Atlanta, and I have loved your products ever since I was introduced to them by Randy Weinstein of Fab Conference based in Charleston, South Carolina. And so I
have been so excited to meet you. Your products are delicious. Your packaging is beautiful. And the more I learned about you, I was like, yeah, we need to go to the sprinkle salt factory.
Well, I'm so glad you're here.
Let's get into it. So I also have covered Columbia, South Carolina. I'm one of the journalists who think it has a very fun, not just up and coming, but very smart kind of little food scene. And I've covered it for Travel and Leisure and Condé Nast Traveler. And I've done a lot of podcasts there. You had a restaurant in Columbia, South Carolina for 17 years.
I did. Such a random story. As I've always said, when I have to step back and sort of explain my timeline, rather than make sense of it, I just say I kind of have this project-based living. So one of my first projects was I went to Columbia to work on my master's thesis to apply to grad school in Columbia. The University of South Carolina had some of my primary sources. Also had some lifelong family friends that lived there, and thought, okay, well.
And what was your master's going to?
Oh, I was just like, I love poetry. Not writing it, reading it, and wanted to get my PhD in study literature.
Yeah.
So in Columbia, said, okay, you know what, I'm going to live here for a year or so. With my friends, I was 23, I think. And so about a month or two in there, it's like, well, I've always, I talk ADD, just so you know, we're going to go all over the place. So I have always been.
Her diet is 98% sprinkles.
I've always been into food. Any job I've ever had, I worked for a portfolio manager like a month after graduation for a year and a half. Really, all I cared about is like, can I help with the Christmas party, or can I help with, how are we doing? Always had cookbooks by my bed. Interned and have worked in the food industry as a server, as a caterer, everything all my life. So when I'm in Columbia looking to go to grad school, there was this 9-seat diner on Hardin Street for lease. And I just said, you know what? I think I'm going to open a restaurant. I had lived in Oaxaca, Mexico for a year and a half. I did lots of cooking there. And this was way before the whole Moe's and Chipotle, all those concepts had rolled out. But every place I'd ever lived throughout, high school and college had an independently owned little burrito place. There was Ketchum Burrito that was out of an Airstream in Idaho. Just everywhere I'd gone, there was like this charming mom and pop. So I was like, I'm going to do that. So I changed gears, opened up a restaurant. It was immediately embraced by the community. It was tiny.
And it was called?
El Burrito.
So Columbia people are going to know and remember El Burrito.
It had 9 seats inside a porch that had about 22 seats. And then we had a parking lot where we had music on Thursday nights. But literally the space dictated my business plan. You could ring up someone, stir the pot, fix the meal, and slide it down for the customer to pick up. I mean, it was tiny. It was a footprint. It used to be a Tuttle house, if you remember those. So it was an old Tuttle house. Very few of them remained. They kept this one alive. And so it was, even just building out, it was like, where do you get 7-8-inch tile to like complete the stuff? So like I said, the community embraced us. It was just a magical time.
Yeah.
So.
And then we've come here. So my burning question a lot of times with people that do products is, what about salt captured your imagination so much that you jumped lanes over here?
Okay.
Because El Burrito was successful. You had this, you could still read poetry, and then salt. What started percolating there?
Okay, so there are 2 answers to this. I'll start. So the restaurant I did have for 17 years. It closed organically because we sold the property. About 10 to 12 years into it, I moved to Atlanta. My sweetheart lives here. He was here. We had been dating for quite some time. And also, I'm originally from here. Mom and dad are a couple neighborhoods away. My dad had dementia at the time. So I was like, this is a perfect time to come home. Oh, no, I am not going to open a restaurant in Atlanta. I think I've had, 10 years of it. But I absolutely did not want to leave my food community, working with local farmers and bar and restaurant programs. That was really important to me to stay in the community. And then also to kind of come full circle, I had spent the past decade making meals for people eating outside of their home on the go. And so now I'm kind of making this, product for people to use to make meals at home to gather around a table with friends and family.
Right.
So there's that aspect. And then also with the chaos of the restaurant and the nonstop, I mean, you're constantly on. I was like, wow, I'm going to stay in food, but what is the most shelf-stable thing I can think of?
And it's salt.
It was salt and seasonings. That's one answer. The other is I love, just like you're creating a dish, I love creating things. I love telling a story through what I'm making. And salt is such a neutral canvas, if you will. It's also an incredibly important part of the meal, incredibly important part of the dish, but I can also kind of paint things into it and tell a story and carry things. Just like a chef would create a dish, I'm now profiling flavors, telling a story. Sometimes I'll come up with an adventure or a food memory or a name will pop into my head and I'm like, oh, I have to tell that story. So it's actually been this really nice transition to, it's like a different kind of chaos. It's still, the chaos is definitely still here. It's just a different version and it's a little bit more,
right.
I mean, it's a slower pace.
Well, it's really interesting that you mentioned poetry because I'm a former poetry instructor. I taught at Belmont Abbey College and I'm a recovering poet, as they say. You need to recover from it, but mostly recovered. I mean, have relapses. I had a piece published last year.
Oh, how wonderful.
One thing, and I'm also ADD.
Okay.
So one thing
The
that
truth
I
comes
love,
out.
yes, ADD and type A is not a good combo, by the way. Poetry is a very strict fence, but within poetry, you can play.
Absolutely.
The rules are off, but
Absolutely.
you have to understand the rules, right? In order to be able to play, take away capitalization like E. Cummings, or, a line drops off, or even a word becomes 4 or 5 lines. So salt is like that really strict canvas, but within that, you can play a lot. And you
Yes.
have to understand. So maybe it's not project based. If I'm looking at you from a writing standpoint, I'm seeing that you taught yourself a lot while you're in the restaurants and you understood resilience and a lot of other things, but you also just understood your own flavor palette and what you were interested in next. And then you came to salt, which is like poetry.
Sure.
And you said, I can keep this form and I can play and tell stories here.
Sure, exactly. And that's a wonderful description. And, the ingredients we use, they're sort of like words. Sometimes they can be bold and bite your face off, or sometimes they can be almost invisible. But they're so important. You might not even necessarily taste an ingredient, but it is there binding. And like, it's the one thing that sort of pulls everything together. For example, a lot of the flavors we make have curry, and in most of them, you don't even taste it. But it is there. It is such an important ingredient. Like with sumac. Sumac, it brings in like the sour note, but nothing we make really tastes sour. But it's so important.
It's like that balance, right?
Exactly.
So one of your most famous, and your packaging is very beautiful, and this particular packaging is, but one of your most famous salts is the Magic Unicorn salt. And I would love for you to kind of let us in on the poetic process of that particular salt.
So when we first started, when I first started, everyone that sets foot in the store is part of the family. So it is a we for sure. I was making 4 flavors: rosemary, single ingredient; lavender, mushroom, and pink peppercorn. These 4 single ingredient flavors. I had just started doing little pop-up markets. I wasn't big enough to apply to farmers markets. So the design and the package design, I've only worked with one designer, the Half and Half in Columbia, South Carolina. They were actually students at the time, came into the restaurant and said, hey, you have this bluegrass. Can we do artwork posters for free? We're like, sure. After that, it was like no brainer. So all this design, anything you see is from the Half and Half and Thomas Jennings, who is now an independent designer. So this is important to the story. So single ingredients. Robbie and I were at a festival and we were so hungry, and there was this kind of renegade guy cooking hamburgers, not in a tent. And we're like, ooh, let's go get one of those. And they were kind of like really kind of charred on the outside, and it was so delicious. And for some reason, I was like, wait, it's kind of smoky. And why is there celery seed in here? It makes no sense. And normally, like, if there's one celery seed in a gallon of water, that's all I taste. So I don't really like it, although I do respect it and appreciate it. But I was like, oh, this is so good. So about a week later, I was like, I got to recreate that flavor. It's smoky. It's a little herbaceous. There's that doggone celery seed. I don't know. And at this point, we had never made a blend. So I walked into the studio, and within like 5 seconds, I had it down pat. And, sometimes it'll take me months to work on a flavor.
Right.
It'll take, like head scratching and, throwing things away. This was perfect. And I was like, okay, this is a blend. This is the, more than one ingredient. I was like, you got to have a good name. And then maybe a couple of mornings later, I woke up, I was like, okay, magic unicorn.
It seems like a little bit of a symbol of beautiful Briny Sea, right? Would you consider that like a mascot in a way?
I would think so for certain. Yes. It was kind of before the unicorn trend. I just wanted something that was a little nonsensical. And that it absolutely is the mascot, because that started the storytelling. It was just 4 single ingredients. And then when I finally said, you know what, I'm confident enough to kind of make a blend, and let's, here's a name, here's a story, let's go. And that's where everything started, with the flavor profiling, the stories, the engagement actually with the community, because I had this thing I could talk about, and that sort of gave me my sea legs, if you will, no pun intended.
I love it. So then we get to sprinkles, which opens up this other side. And I always like to tell Southern Fork listeners that there is such a big, wide, full, round, diverse world of food. And one of these things is co-packing, right?
Yes.
And that is really what you're doing with the sprinkles, right?
Yes. But it's interesting because it's not, I have never, we do one trade show, and it's at America's Mart. It's a mile and a half down the road. I am not the hustler that like goes, we need to, work with so-and-so, or we need to grab so I am, it's actually not a part of my personality. I just don't like to draw attention to myself. We don't have a sales force here. There are actually 6 of us. We're all workers. We all do everything. So the idea of, the whole co-packing, that involves, having a business plan, having, these avenues, open.
Can I say Williams-Sonoma is one of your clients? So
yes, but
I mean, like how? Whoa.
Okay, it's an interesting story. And like I will say, like with Williams-Sonoma and with Delta and with Jeni, like all of these relationships were organic. I was here one night. My dad was actually in hospice. This is, actually the first few months that we were in this building. So my dad was in hospice. I was here like putting sticky notes everywhere for everybody, just so like, here's what we're doing the next 48 hours. Was going to go home, grab my toothbrush, and then go be with him. And I was like, okay, I'm checking my email one last time. There was this email from this lady, woman named Alex, who said, hi, my name is Alex. I'm the savory buyer at Williams-Sonoma. We just saw your product. We would love samples. Is there any way you can overnight them? I was like, oh my goodness. Okay.
I guess I'll figure that out.
Thankfully, our FedEx location is open till 8:30, and they're right around the corner. So I just scrambled, did that, sent it off, and then 47 SKUs later, and our salt and some of their stores. It's been a wonderful relationship. I mean, they're an extended part of our family for sure. So.
Right. With the sprinkle part, the sugar part, you were telling us, I mean, the idea of sprinkles, now I have to go to Costa Rica, which is, I'm sorry, a completely other show that we can't talk about right now. Sprinkles are real fascinating. You'll be hearing more about that soon. But making these sprinkle blends, as somebody who observes, I mean, I'm paid to be a cultural observer for food. I mean, I like sprinkles and stuff, but like sprinkles are different now. Like, I'm a kid of the 80s.
Yeah,
and,
Betty Crocker.
Yeah, we had the little shaker and the little spice cabinet. And all of a sudden you've got Christmas trees and bigger balls, and I mean, there's just all these custom
and there's
shapes.
a language too.
There is. Tell us some of the words.
You have jimmies, which are what we know as sprinkles.
Okay, so they're called jimmies.
Yep. Nonpareils, which are the teeny little balls, teeny tiny. They're called nonpareils. You have deco wafers or quins, which are the little like confetti, sometimes the shapes.
Like a little flower.
Exactly.
Right.
Yep. And then you have Con AA, which is the chunky colored sugar. It can be any color of the rainbow and rainbow as well. You have sanding sugar. You have sixlets. You have meteors. So there's this
What is a meteor?
They look like nerds, but they're chocolate.
Oh, yeah. Right. Yeah. So there's this whole language.
Yes.
And then there's a language to blending them as well, right? Percentage wise,
weight. Like you get this. If you do anything with sanding sugar, it normally has to be a sanding sugar blend. If not, it just falls to the bottom unless you're constant. So yeah, it's all weight and color and yeah, it's an ongoing multiple personality disorder.
But it still seems to be capturing your imagination. It still seems to be really fun. This whole situation is fun.
When we're in the production room on those 10-foot butcher block tables, so that's 20 foot of just production table, we have these huge bowls. No one is in a bad mood, even if you're in the worst mood in the world. It's just, you just walk in and there's this brightness and there's this, you're in gallons and gallons and barrels of these beautiful, bright, shining, happy ingredients. So
now, I haven't known you for very long, but I'm going to guess that you're going to be like, I don't want to answer this question or I can't answer this question. But I think you can. When people listen to shows like this, and when I think about when I'm sitting here listening to you, I'm wondering, you're a say yes person. You're a very interested in the world person. You're a look at that 9-seat huddle house and wonder what we could do with that person. There becomes a plowing of a field in a way in a life that allows things like the Williams-Sonoma. And not to be woo-woo about it, but
sure,
it's a process.
Sure.
And it's a process you don't know where it's going, but you like the way it feels during the day-to-day.
Oh, absolutely.
So if you're telling somebody in a business like how to be organically open to growing instead of hustling and striving, but instead of building a family and
certainly
stuff that you want. How would you respond to that?
I am fortunate that these relationships have all happened organically. We were not big enough to go under contract with Williams-Sonoma. We were not big enough for me to look to see who's the person I send samples to and follow up with. This happened organically. It started with one product, and then it blossomed into sprinkles and actually storytelling. They are storytellers as well. So we communicate on that level. It's not corporate, like as corporate as you would think. Their product development team, their sweet and savory teams, it's they tell stories. Mm-hmm. They are looking to tell a story and they bring on partners that they can work with. But we truly just started with our Magic Unicorn Salt and a few others in the Pont City Market location. And then the conversation started and it was just, they mentored me. But yeah, it was definitely.
But your process beyond Williams-Sonoma seems to be one of being like, what if we did this? Let's play with this.
Yes.
What is
everything
that?
is small. Everything is small and starts organically. And even with relationships, like people that you think you want to work with or people that are interested in working with you, if it's not a personality fit, if it doesn't feel right, then you don't do it. You don't say yes to everything. Suzi, personality, says yes to everything because I'm excited and happy, but not for this business. It has to grow on its own. It would not be fair to any of my coworkers if I took every offer that came our way. We'd be exhausted. We'd lose our identity. We'd lose our creative spirit. Once, it took me several years, like I was saying, doing farmers markets, engaging, talking to people, answering questions that I had never even thought about answering.
Farmers markets is great R&D, right?
It is the best.
I'm telling you, so many businesses build from that.
That is where you learn how to tell your story. Right. That's where you learn how to talk about your product. You learn your compliance in 5 seconds because there's so many allergy people or people want to know what about, and you learn how to kind of take up for yourself as well. If someone's giving you some negative feedback or if someone's, sort of swerving a little bit. You just sort of, so you learn it's that engagement. So just, I would always stay small. Like people are like, well, what about growth or what about XYZ or people that we started with, like 5 or 6 artisan producers, some of them are no longer here. Some of them, burn out after a year and a half because they say yes to everything. And you get, and also just don't get starstruck. My goodness, we're all human. Big, huge companies are humans too. They have people, so.
They have kids they have to pick up after school.
Everyone,
right?
yes. If you approach it from, just be, and kindness and just, all the basics.
Just sprinkle a little sugar
Yeah.
on it. I cook for the Instagram sometimes, and I have a lazy Susan in my house and a cabinet, which is like the best thing for my spice rack. And it is packed. And it is my spice rubs, my blends, I have certain companies that I love and I have all kinds of jars because I like that apothecary kind of mad scientist kind of feel.
Yes.
But it's my secret hack. I don't cook difficult things. I just make roasted chicken and I'm like, which one do I want with it tonight? I can go, lemony rosemary or this. And so after so much time doing this, do you get feedback of people that are like, I'm glad you're in my house or I'm glad to cook instead of just working that business side? Do you still have the one-on-one?
Oh, all the time.
Hey, I made deviled eggs with your stuff and it's delicious.
Oh, we would not be here and excited and making new product if it weren't for customer feedback. If you notice on our cans, we have suggested uses and it's not like poultry, potatoes. It's like spatchcock chicken, brook trout, Hasselback potatoes, just random, like what you would actually cook or what, so because people are constantly saying, I made this last night. We added this. And yes, I will finally one day get a recipe blog. And yes, I will. I mean, we haven't gotten there yet. We're too busy. So, but the constant feedback is what fuels us. It's what keeps us wanting to make new flavors. It's what, if it weren't for that, if people are just like, I like your stuff. No, we get a story. We get a backstory to it. We get how they found it. So, that is what keeps us going.
I roll in and I'm telling you, I think my initial email was like, this is my favorite flavor. And like, I use it for this.
Exactly. That is it. That is that.
And I was like, so I've been, because cooking is so personal, I feel like you've been with me in the kitchen, literally.
I'll take that any day of the week.
And also, that's the way it feels when somebody has a cookbook that I cook from consistently. I'm literally cooking with you.
Sure.
And I'm going, thank you, Suzi, for making this and making my food better. Because, it's enjoyable. It's enjoyable. And suddenly we've built community, even though we never met.
Yeah. Well, and everything that we make comes from a desire to tell a story or a desire to recreate a food memory.
Yeah, recreate. Thank God for that burger at that festival. Well, we're here. The supply chain is whack, and we've got all kinds of crazy things happening. We're about to have a hot vac summer, and everybody is going 1921 right now. That's just what I'm calling it.
Yes.
And what are you hungry for? What are you excited about?
This is because of COVID. People were cooking at home. We had unbelievable exponential growth on our website. A lot of our retailers, went on pause, but we were up 400 to 700% week to week with our online sales, which kept our lights on and kept us in business. And also our larger retailers kept ordering. So we were thriving. And it's, I have a lot of survivor guilt in the sense that my restaurant community, which is my industry, was, it was difficult on a day-to-day basis to see these things happening, not only to my immediate neighbors, but the Atlanta and the national food community. So what I'm hungry for because of this just crazy surge in business that thankfully, we have the best team. We all quarantine together. We got our orders out every day. We've been trying to launch product for the past 5 years. We just couldn't. It was, not financially possible. We couldn't pause something to stop to focus. COVID and the sales and the exposure to the new sales channel with all of these, like we tripled our social media followers, which I'm terrible at that. So I'm proud to say that, even though I really
huge.
don't know how to manage it. I all of a sudden turned into this like engager, like in the sense that I would like respond to direct messages and I would post and I would start telling stories. So what happened was it was like all of a sudden our finances became to where I didn't have to go, okay, we've got this week, we can pay for that. Okay, hold on, let's wait and see if this comes in. So, which is an interesting story. It's a whole nother conversation about restaurant versus what I'm doing now. Oh my goodness. Anyway, we all of a sudden had a little breathing room. So we launched our 3 products. We got some more efficiencies built in the back warehouse for shipping that we've never had time to do because we were just trying to stay afloat and, grow and scale. So what I'm hungry for is to take a breath and recover a little bit from the chaos, the beautiful, glorious chaos that I'm so grateful for, and sort of go, all right, guys, what are we doing next? Like we have like a little foundation that we built over the past 12 months, and let's start actually making it real. Cause this is like a project. This is a creative project that now might have to be a reality, So, I keep saying, wow, that's so adult. We have, XYZ. Wow. I mean, so, when I got a garbage disposal at my house, like that was like a major moment. This is now kind of a major moment. I'm like, all right, what are we going to do? I'm not ready to take over the world. I never want to. People talk about hustle. Yeah, we hustle on a moment to moment basis, but we're not the kind of people that are going to hit the streets and be like, what's next? It's more like, wow, we are so lucky to be afforded to sit down as a team and go, hey, what do we want to do? We're kind of okay. Like,
yeah,
we've got a regular customer stream on our website. We have this amazing feedback that we've engaged with so many fun people. We have collaborations lined up just for fun, like, which is necessary to stay in this business. So I'm hungry to see how the post chaos growth is going to be like.
What is one aspect of this particular job, that really meshes like a puzzle piece with an aspect of your personality?
Oh, just chaos, constant chaos. For example, I'm about to hop on a plane for Seattle. Robbie has been packing since Monday. I have my empty suitcase in the room right there. I've got kind of stuff laid out, but we're going to call Uber like 10 minutes after I get home. But I know where everything is. It will literally only take me 10 minutes. Yeah. So here, much like the restaurant, except on a totally different version, like a restaurant, like it was live performance. Like your mic is constantly hot. So here you walk in, all right, we've got this lined up for today. We have our whiteboard. We have production ready. XYZ doesn't come in. And even though we overnighted it and promised so-and-so that it was being picked up, we ran out of something. Oh God, like 3 people just walked in and want to talk our face off, and I don't want to be rude. So I'm going to pause this next hour and talk. And then, so like days falling apart, weeks falling apart, purchase orders. Actually, we do ship. We're pretty good about shipping on time, but like getting there, like getting to the end. Yeah. I mean, everybody here, I'm sure, would appreciate a direct route, but I walk in and just like mess it up. So
what keeps you up at night?
Oh, goodness. So it's anything from, do we have enough hand soap? Did I order that? I can't remember. To, my goodness, I hope that the lab test we sent out for salmonella and listeria before I can release this tractor trailer of product, hope it comes back okay tomorrow. To, did we send out those bills? Like, but, they say, wake up, write it down, you'll fall back asleep. I don't, but I own my own business. I am the luckiest person in the world to own an independent business. I'll take it. Right. So staying up at night is part of it.
It's just part of it. Yeah. Right. It's just part of it. All right. I have a magic picnic basket and I bring it to Atlanta every time I come to interview for the Southern Fork, because with it, I can time travel. I can go back in time and can script anybody specifically to make any meal, any dish that you would like. I can source and I can cook a little bit. I would love to bring you some of your favorite foods, either from the past, present, or the future, and put a few things together for you in a basket. It doesn't have to be a composed meal. It can just be whatever makes you happy beyond just what you like. Maybe that makes your heart sing a little bit. What can I bring you?
Like 3-day-old Crowder peas that have almost turned to mush. Some perfectly cooked rice, like fragrant. I don't care where it comes from. I mean, Anson Mills, that would be great. But a jasmine, really good tomatoes, like the kind where you taste the sun, just like
Cherokee purple pulled from the garden backyard.
Yes. And with that, there needs to be a bracingly cold component. And I don't know what it is right now, but it's going to be there. And I can eat that all day long in the summer until the tomatoes run out. And then you freeze the peas and you can kind of recreate it without the acid. You know, you can find something somewhere else. But yeah, that and then, that's medicine to me. Yeah.
That sounds so delicious. Salt on the tomatoes?
Yes.
A salt blend or just, and I should say, it's always sea salt for you.
Yeah, so. It actually, it is. But it's sort of like the tomato is perfect. You taste the sun, you taste that sort of like, when you scratch the tomato leaf, you get a little bit of that in the essence when you break the skin. And so, you do salt. You're like, okay, let's turn up the volume on that. That's where the salt comes in. The salt doesn't change that flavor. It just goes, ooh, yep, here I am.
Yeah.
So
I love it. That's poetry. If people want to learn more about Suzi and beautiful Briny Sea, you know where to go. You can go to thesouthernfork.com. I'm going to have links there as well as images so you can see the face behind the voice. If you like what you hear, well, I get to go to a sprinkle salt factory, so I kind of like it too. But the best way to make sure that you get to hear interviews of the people behind some of the best Southern culinary stuff the South has to offer. You can go to thesouthernfork.com, subscribe on your favorite podcast app, and that way it's just coming to your podcast app. You don't have to remember. You don't have to wake up at 3 a.m. and say, I should write that down. It's just right there. But meanwhile, I have to let Suzi go because she's got to get on a plane. So thank you so much for working this out for me.
Oh, thank you. It has been a sincere pleasure to talk with you.
Excellent. Thanks.
Hello and welcome to Talking with My Mouth Full. Today, I'm going to invite you to liberate yourself from the baking aisle of your grocery store. Spices are super expensive and they come in very, very small containers. I know we've all stood in that aisle looking for something in alphabetical order, and I also understand the convenience of doing that. But over the past year, I've been subtly suggesting that you look for seasonings and spice rubs and all kinds of other products beyond your local grocery store. I'm going to tell you that my cooking has changed infinitely since really committing to wonderful herbs and spices in my spice cabinet. One of the ways to make this more economical is actually international grocery stores. Bulk spices are your friend. I go to an international grocery store close to my house and I can buy a bunch of star anise that I use in a broth with shrimp or fish, and it is not a luxury item because so many people that go there are purchasing the star anise that the grocery store can actually purchase at a lower wholesale cost. Also, really good spice rubs and really good salt blends and really good seasonings are a really good foundation for better cooking. It makes everything easy. I usually test every sample that I get of a spice rub or salt blend on roasted potatoes. I throw a little bit of the spice blend on there, a little bit of olive oil, toss it, put it in the oven and taste it. It's a really blank canvas for me to test this product and see if I like it and would like to learn more about it. But additionally, I like roasted potatoes, and so it's a really easy way to make a side dish. Another place to really look for spices, there are artisanal companies at your local farmer's market. I buy from a company that always has farmers market stands here in Charleston. There are mail order companies. I get it. I get that spices can be expensive, and I also think that they make a huge difference when you're actually using beautiful 5-spice powder with fresh ground cloves and cinnamon. That is a completely different experience than something that you've drug from behind the spice rack that you probably got a decade ago. So anyway, I go through a lot of this stuff. My food has become very well seasoned. Of course, you can dry your own herbs. I'm mainly talking about spices today, but leave the aisle. There's a whole world of culinary shopping beyond the baking aisle of your grocery store. Happy cooking, and I hope you have a spicy weekend. I will talk with you later. You've been listening to The Southern Fork. I can't wait to bring you more culinary conversations, but in the meantime, I have one question. Are you going to eat all that?